Hi, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. The Apostate Prophet. So I recently went to church, and I have to collect all my thoughts about this now. Technically, I went to church for the first time a month ago, several weeks ago, for the first time with my wife, because she has been going to church. She recently became a Christian again. She was a Christian, then she left Christianity and was an atheist for the longest time. Then she returned to Christianity. It's kind of funny because over all these years since we met, I was always the guy who was interested in religious stuff. I was interested in Christian things. I would sometimes even listen to Christian music, and she would be like... So it's kind of weird that she is the one who then suddenly becomes a Christian. I have a Muslim background. I have nothing to do with Christianity except that I grew up in a Christian country, Germany, and that I also went to a Christian Catholic kindergarten. But anyway, I went to church for the first time with her, and that was the first time ever that I attended a service on a Sunday. When I went there for the first time, I was a little bit overwhelmed. I didn't really know what to think. It's an Orthodox church, so I witnessed the divine liturgy, as it is called, and I tried just following along with it and observing it and all that. I think after the first time visiting there, I felt a little bit overwhelmed, and I didn't really know what to think. But this last weekend, I went willingly, deliberately to attend and to practice and to participate, to see how it goes, because I felt the will and the need to participate. And technically, I consider this the first time that I actually went to church to participate. And the first thing I felt was, I felt a warm welcome. Smiles from people, a nod from the priest, a warm welcome from the priest. He saw me when I first visited, so he came to me and said, "Welcome back, I'm glad to see you here." There was a close attention by the priest to help those who are new to the church, to help them along with the liturgy. So he would occasionally look at me and to some others who were new and just tell us what we are doing right now, where we are in the liturgy, so we could follow along. And it was quite easy to follow. And I did follow the liturgy, which is an ancient, beautiful liturgy. There are certain things that I recognized in the divine liturgy, the different prayers, the different chants, the different processions. What's very interesting is that I spent much of the last year, 2014, studying Judaism and temple practices and things like that. And I was only familiar with how Jewish temple practices carried over to synagogue practices and how they were practiced in synagogues, especially in Orthodox synagogues. But it was very interesting to see how I could see the parallels between temple practices and Jewish practices also in an Orthodox church during the processions, such as bringing out the scripture and then gathering around and reading the scripture, the prayers and the respectful treatment of the scripture, the symbolism throughout the divine liturgy. I felt very touched and humbled and good with repeated invocations or repeated chants of "Lord, have mercy." The one thing that I was most, the one thing that I felt very, very, very deeply was in preparation of the communion of the Eucharist, the prayer following up to it. There is a part which is about, like the thief, we say, "Remember me in your kingdom." I think that's how the wording goes. Chanting that out just made me shiver. And I don't know. I've always had lots of respect for Christianity and Christian practices and Christian prayers and all that, and Christian tradition, biblical stuff. I spent so much of my time over the years studying Bible, whether it be the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible, or more recently the New Testament. I read through the Gospels, studied the life of Jesus, And then to find so many parallels and so many references in the liturgy on a Sunday service to everything that I learned was kind of nice. Now, since I'm not a baptized member of the church, I didn't receive communion or anything. I just received a blessing from the priest, which felt very nice. And after the divine liturgy was over, which I think lasted quite a while, up to 2 hours maybe, I don't know. And time just went by. It didn't feel long. I participated and time just went by, and it was beautiful. After the service, I started making conversation with people there. It's also interesting how in a church, several people recognized me from YouTube. And normally when I go outside, when I go somewhere, some random places, I barely have people recognize me in public, unless I go to some big city. But I go to a church and there are immediately several people recognizing me. I guess in religious circles, it's more likely that people recognize me from YouTube. After the service, I made conversation with people who are just very, very good and pleasant. I feel no pressure at all. I only felt a warm welcome from the priest, who is already familiar with my wife and my family. He came over to me just to have a conversation with me and to see where I am, to see if I have any questions. He made no pressure at all. He just asked me to keep in touch with him. No, actually, you know what? It was me who asked him if I could keep in touch. He just told me that I can ask him whenever there is anything on my mind. He asked me about where I am right now. I told him about everything. I told him I'm kind of interested. I'm on a journey. I'm not entirely sure what I believe at this moment. I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing at this moment, but I'm on a journey and I like where it's going. That's what I said. He said he is glad to hear it. He said something like, I think you used the right way to describe it. It is a journey. And if you want any help on this journey, feel free to reach out. Like, he didn't jump on me and say, yes, stay in touch, I have all the answers. He basically just offered his help, and it was welcoming and it was nice. It's kind of weird because after going to church and after letting it sink in a little bit, I don't feel this whole woo-woo, my life is completely changed now, there's something magical happening or anything like that. I don't feel any of these things. I can't sit here and say, oh, this was like the most amazing thing, and this is brilliant, this is magic, and so on. And honestly, I feel glad about that, because I think I'm having a much more natural and good reaction to going to church. I don't feel like magic is overcoming me. I just feel a warmth, a gentle, welcoming warmth and embrace. And it's less intimidating than being overcome with a feeling of magic. I like it. I know over the years people have asked me a lot where I am standing spiritually, religiously, and so on. And I think, thinking back, there was even a time where I said, I don't think I will ever become a Christian, or I don't think I will ever become religious again. I don't think I will ever believe again. A lot has changed over the last year, especially since I went to Israel with David. I don't know what it is, but going to Israel, especially standing before the wall, the Western Wall, that moment that we first went there and stood there, it did something in me. It changed me. Before I went to Israel, I was cold, atheistic. I think the moment I stood before that wall and pondered, something started moving inside me, and I lost that cold wall inside me. That wall broke that wall inside me, and I started moving toward just being agnostic and no longer making assertions about, I know there is no God, and so many experiences, so many good experiences with religious people ever since, with Jewish religious people there, which I explained, and with other Christian religious people since then, have really have changed my mind on things. And I have more and more come to a place where I no longer feel like I can just say, I am an atheist, I know there is no God. And to be fair, I know that it might be possible to live as atheists for other people, but for me, to be very, very honest and very blunt, it wasn't a very pleasant ride. It wasn't a very pleasant experience. In fact, most of the time, over the last 2 years or so, I felt this dreadful feeling of emptiness and hopelessness and nothing to look forward to and nothing to live for. And whenever it came creeping up, I was just terrified by it. I have replaced it with prayer. Yes, despite the fact that I only just went to church for the first time to practice, I have been practicing prayers for a month or two, and they started replacing the emptiness with something good and something better. I think, to be very, very honest, for most of the last years, I didn't want to even try out prayers because I kind of wanted to uphold this this proud feeling of being an atheist. I was, well, what prayer? What do you mean prayer? Prayer will make me will take my rationality and reason away. I can't do that. I eventually decided that it's okay to just put that aside and to just do it. And it feels humbling and fulfilling. For the longest time, I always thought, no, if I want to practice something, if I want to follow something, I have to know 100% in my mind that it is absolutely true. It was actually David who recently helped me overcome that by just mentioning to me that that if you always think that you have to be 100% sure of what lies in front of you, you won't get anywhere. Of course, he said that all of this in a much more profound way, but it helped. So despite the fact that David Wood is a terrible influence on me, just kidding, I can learn a lot from him. And I appreciate his friendship because of that, and because he's fun, among many other reasons. I will stay in touch with a monk that I met. I will stay in touch with the priest. I will continue on my path. I am less arrogant, more open to humility foremost. Exploring the path that I am right now. At this point, I'm not entirely sure what will happen and where I will go and what I will do. But I would say the only reason that I don't outright come out and say I am a Christian now is that I'm waiting for a final confirmation. I think Islam took a heavy toll on me, and I know I have been wearing crosses and also saying that I practice or that I pray and things like that. But I have still not officially said that I am a Christian. But oddly enough, I also don't want to say at this point that I'm an agnostic anymore. I'm just on the doorstep, and I will let everyone know what happens next. So stay tuned and wait for the next episode. Yeah, that's it. Thank you all for listening. Thanks for everyone who has been with me on this journey, on whatever side you are, wherever you stand, whatever you have told me. I appreciate everyone and everything that I have experienced, and I will share more about my journey as soon as I know more. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you all soon. And this time I will not say the line, just this time, because I've barely mentioned Islam, maybe one or two times. Whatever, stay away from Islam.